So we're hanging out here with our old buddy Miro Tcholakov here in Geyserville, California at Trentadue Winery and Vineyards, which is on the Sonoma side of wine country. Miro was nice enough to spend a little time with us and talk about this time of the year, which they call Veraison. This is when the grapes do something real special, so we're going to get Miro's take on exactly what's going on in the vineyards and why this time of year is so unique. So Miro, talk a little bit about Veraison and why it's such an important part of the growing season.
Well, Veraison it's the ripening process. It's the beginning and the end of changing colors. So the grapes spend a lot of their time looking green, like all of these berries around here. Mm-hmm. And at some point in time, they slowly start turning red, and that's the beginning of Veraison. And we consider the end of it when all of the green berries turn blue or dark red or whatever. Right now, on this section here, this is the Trentadue Sangiovese block. It's one of the oldest vines that Leo planted, or the first vines that he planted here about 45, 47 years ago. Mm-hmm. This section looks about, visually, maybe 70-80% finished Veraison. There's still some leftover green, but that's going to change probably by the end of this week.
Wow.
Usually, as soon as the Veraison ends, then we have about 50 days before harvest at the most.
Miro, talk about what's unique about the 2013 growing season, and it seems like that this is pretty early for Veraison, so just talk about this growing season, why Veraison's happening early, and what the effects will be on the growing season.
Okay. Yes, this year it's early. It's about 2 to 3 weeks early than normal. The reason is we had a relatively dry winter. We only received about 60% of the normal rainfall, and that could be the reason, but it's also the bloom started also very early this year, earlier than normal. And because the rest of the year until this point in time was warm enough, and then it just kept pushing it earlier and earlier as far as everything else, all the physiological process of the vines. So here we are 2 to 3 weeks earlier. So right now, I can estimate the harvest time for these grapes will be probably the first week of September, if the weather remains normal like it is now, between 85 and say 92 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, this is a surprise to me. I haven't looked at them in about a week, and the Veraison has progressed quite a bit. They were about a week or two behind the Sangiovese, but right now we're looking like we're catching on with the Sangiovese, or catching up, and that kind of worries me sometimes. Which means that we may harvest at the same time everything, and that usually is a very stressful period of time because we're going to run out of tank space. We're going to fill everything at the same time, and then we start playing checkers with the tanks.
Because but usually the varietals ripen at different times, Miro?
Yes, they do. And then we kind of counting on that because we have such a spread between the varieties. For instance, Sangiovese is going to be first, followed by Zinfandel, Petit Syrah, Merlot, and Cabernet will come in last, and the Carignan. So based on the volume that we're getting, this usually in the past worked great. Last year it did not. The Zinfandel actually ripened about the same time as Cabernet, and that really caused some issues in the cellar as far as space. Mm-hmm. But otherwise it's very comfortable. They usually spread out a week or two apart, and that's usually how long it takes to ferment and turn the tanks, as we call it. You fill it in, and by the time you press it out, it usually takes 7 to 10 days, and it worked perfectly. But the way it looks right now, it seems like everything may come at the same time. Cabernet, luckily, is still not going through Veraison, so I'm happy about that, but everything else looks pretty close together. Alright, so we have a Cabernet Franc Malbec blend. It's about 50-50, and this is a brand new Trentadue French oak barrel, tin stave, toasted medium plus with toasted heads, and specifically made for Trentadue.
And there's your vintage right there.
The vintage is on a card. It says 12. It's 2012. It's Simple Rick. Now we have to like it, right?
Oh, you know I will.
It's supposed to be. Wine always smells better out of the barrel for some reason.
Well, but you can still smell the fruit. It's not like the only thing I can smell is the barrel.
Yeah.
Miro, thanks again for spending some time with us. We learned a lot, as we always do. Your wines are delicious. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Anytime.
See you next time.
Thank you.
See ya.